Hello world, Justin Tucker here, and we are continuing on with our video tutorial about making a convention and membership website. We have already created our 2018 Perfectly Optimized Annual Conference. This will be our test conference for the rest of the series. I think at this point I'm going to go and add fields to our speakers, sponsors, and vendors. Now again, in an earlier video I mentioned because these three are going to have the same fields initially. Well, that's actually not true because there's going to be vendor type and sponsor type. So there's a high overlap, in a better way to say it, of fields, and that would speak to having one form that would just have these as different categories. I'm going to go ahead and choose to do them individually just so that the flexibility exists to extend them further if you want to. So we'll start by speaker, but basically once I make these fields, it's going to be just adding the existing field onto the other two. So some of these fields we've already created. So I know that for a speaker, we're going to want maybe contact number. And maybe we will want their address so that if we wanted in the future to have some map that shows, all of our speakers, that could help. Again, we get down to the available countries in the site default. I'm just once again going to kind of be redundant here and say United States in both. Leave everything else the same. An image field. So we're actually going to call this speaker images. We want a different folder to be created just for these images used on this instance, which will be on the speaker form. Go ahead and enable these two for good SEO. And these others don't really apply. Now I know, let me see if I've got the link module. Maybe these, okay, so let's do this. Drupal 7 link field. The speakers, the sponsors, and the vendors probably may have a website or some other external URL they want to reference, so we want to at least have that option to do that. And I did not have this module installed, so I'm just getting it installed real quick. Where is it? Oh, there it is. All right. Okay, so now that that's saved, if I refresh this page, I should have a new field type called link. Okay, and we'll just call this URL and leave it pretty generic and probably reuse it quite a bit. Yeah, I guess we can validate. I do like to select this, open link in new window. These other things you can read and kind of determine if you want to allow or disallow. But this will kind of be the format it gives you. You can give a title if you want, but it always needs the URL. And I guess we'll give, more than one value if you want. And let's see. It's probably pretty good. So I'm just going to kind of rearrange these. Again, the body, you can put, really anything you want in there. And so now I think I want to go to the content types and pretty much add the same fields. So we'll add the image field. We'll call this Yep, sponsor images. Leave that at unlimited. All looks good. We will add in the URL field as well. Again, we'll say open a new window. And effectively what we're doing here is form building. Forms that you're going to need administratively to capture the content needed to run your website. And again, reusing fields is a huge powerful feature of Drupal. Let's see, United States. Leave the rest. And again, how did I just organize the speaker? So image, address, contact, okay. Okay, and so now that's the sponsor form. Same exact fields. Again, there's going to be some different fields. I'm going to go back to speaker here in a second and sponsor, but we're going to go ahead and just finish completing the exercise by getting the same fields on each one of these. And if this feels redundant, it's because it is. Because the other fields we're going to add that's different to the sponsor, speaker, and vendor is the taxonomy field that we created in another video. So we'll add the URL. We'll say open a new link. We will add the address field. Rearrange these. And save. And I'm going to go back to the speaker, okay? And we're going to add a new field called speaker type, which was the taxonomy field that we created earlier. So the field type for that is called term reference, and that's why I kind of talked about they use that word term to mean subcategory. So we're wanting to basically use this. Speaker type, yeah, we can leave it as a list. We can show it as a radio or a checkbox, depending on if we're allowing more than one, or we can allow it to be autocomplete. So we'll leave it as select list. And it's going to give us a drop down of all the vocabularies we made, which was done in another video. If you look here, this list of vocabularies is exactly what this list is. And so it's asking us, this speaker type field you created, what type of vocabulary is it? Well, it's speaker type. And is there any default value we want to start with? This was one I didn't have any values for. Do we want to allow more than one? Sometimes you do, maybe you don't. In this case, we will. And we'll save that. And we're going to do the same idea on the sponsor type and attach it to a vocabulary that we've already created or a category that we've already created. So sponsor type. Choose term reference, leave that also as a select list. And we're going to choose sponsor type as the vocabulary to use. On sponsor type, I'm only going to say that you can choose one, and the default value we'll leave as none. And then for vendor type, we'll reference the taxonomy we made earlier as well. This is why we had made the taxonomies before we made fields. Okay, so here's the fields for vendor, here's the fields for sponsor, here's the fields for speaker. Yes, they are all the same except for the speaker type, sponsor type, vendor type. Again, there's a different way to do this. I think that's probably a little more efficient, but this is probably going to be the most flexible. So that's the way we've gone, for better or for worse. And at this point, I'm going to create some of this material. So I'm going to say that I'm speaking. Don't really have a good picture handy of me. And yep, speaker type is blank. Okay, and if there's anything, this is where a lot of stuff can go in the body. Again, this is a whole text editor. There's a whole feature here as well with full HTML and being able to. Well, I don't have the IMCE enabled, but there's a whole little lesson on this as well. But basically, it's a what you see is what you get editor. And so we'll go ahead and save this. All right, and again, zero consideration given to layout, but here's the demonstration. This is the instance of speaker Justin Tucker, which is me. We'll go create a sponsor now. My business partner is Tanner Pretty with Headstorm Studios. And let's say he is going to sponsor our event. I don't think he's really got a picture handy, so we'll just do this. Here is their address. Add the contact number in there. Sponsor type, of course, he is gold. And we'll save that. And again, no consideration to design. We're just getting the data modeling down here. So that would be his page as a sponsor. And now we're going to fill out one for speaker. Wait, didn't I already do that? Speaker sponsor, vendor. Yeah, okay. So we need to create a vendor. And let's see, the vendor. Well, yeah, we'll say Tanner Pretty. Again, really don't have any. Oh, that's when I had poison ivy on my face. That was a bad day. So he probably doesn't want that picture. What is this of? Looks like some hammocks. And let's see here. Actually, for this, we'll just say none to demonstrate you don't have to put something in there. This contact number, well, we'll just paste what we have. We'll also give the Headstorm website again. And we'll say he is a silver vendor. Oh, yep, that's when we were having some fun in hammocks. So, obviously, this picture is way too large. Again, We need to make display considerations, which is going to be a different video, but the bottom line here is we've got 3 entries into the database. We have a vendor, we have a sponsor, we have a speaker, and we have a registration event, which is our annual conference. Now, the reason I wanted to add these was so when we go and edit our annual conference and we go down to the referenced speakers, sponsors, and vendors, now we have checkboxes. And again, if I had more than one speaker, then there would be more than one checkbox. And this is how you can explicitly choose the combination of speakers, sponsors, and vendors for this one registration. So I kind of wanted to complete that thought and go back to the actual registration event instance. So if we go back to this, we should see, yeah, reference speakers, reference vendors. So again, we're going to use this information in a much different way, or can, of course, when we lay stuff out. And we can even make this linkable to the actual page, all sorts of stuff like that. But the bottom line is we've got the fields, we've created the forms, and they're collecting the information that we need to collect. So that is where we've left off. We have got these types of content types filled out with the fields we need, at least for now. We have some test content in there, and we have more content types to get to. So I think we're going to tackle another one in the next video and add the fields to it. So that will conclude this video. If you're enjoying this series, please consider subscribing. Hope to continue this, especially if I get good feedback. And if you have any comments or questions, please reach out. Look forward to the communication. That will conclude this video. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Bye-bye.